This week on TGC News, Slovenia beats Germany, Ruger brings a +1, and good things come in small suppressors. Sharps Brothers offers some of the most unique and well-built AR-15 and AR-10 receivers around, with models like the Warthog, the Jack, the Hellbreaker, or even the classic-looking Mean Streak. You'll be sure to find something to fit your build. To learn more about these and all of the other products that they make, head over to sharpsbros.com. Welcome back to TGC News, the only gun news show that covers things you actually care about. My name is Jon Patton. I'm going to kick off this week's episode with a little bit of a poll here. What do you guys think of carrying a gun in the pocket? Sound off in the comments. Now, this week's first story is about a gun that is better than the gun it's copied from. Say hello to the Rex 01 and 1T. That's a mouthful. Now, I'm poking fun, but a few months back, Tim from Military Arms Channel did some torture testing of the regular Rex 01. That sounds like a call sign for like a dog or something. And the performance of it was actually outstanding. It's essentially a copy of the SIG P226, which did not fare so well in Tim's same test. I think a gun like this is kind of interesting. Typically, we see copies of like the CZ75, not the 226, coming from all corners of the globe. So the 01 seems decent. Cool. Well, now they've introduced the Rex 01T. For tactical. It comes standard with raised sights, a 1/2x28 threaded 4.9-inch barrel, 20-round magazine, and it's optics ready. They put 4 different plates in the box so you can adapt most popular slide-mounted optics out there. All for the MSRP of $869.99. Not what I would really call cheap, but certainly feature-packed for the money. Compare that to SIG not currently selling a threaded optic-ready 226, and the 320 that comes threaded requires milling to mount an optic. I'd say the ARX is sounding pretty darn good in comparison. How many of you guys would be willing to take the risk on these kind of unproven guns in the US market and grab yourself a 1T? And in best millimeter news, Ruger has come out with a 10mm version of their SR 1911. Before we wax about the gun existing, let's cover the basics. It's a matte stainless gun with all of the basic 1911 accoutrements, such as a flat mainspring housing, some checkering, a skeletonized hammer and trigger, some rubber grips, and it's topped off with a set of target-style sights. All of the controls are coated black and blah, 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 blah. It's an SR 1911. You've seen these things. There are a couple points that I want to talk about with you guys. First, Ruger is a gigantic company that looks to make money on everything they sell. So, to me, this indicates that they're seeing a trend in 10mm shooters on the rise. Interesting. What this also says to me is that we may see other manufacturers following suit, because me too money, right? Sure, there are other 10mm 1911s out there, right? But of the ones that do exist, they're either made out of pure excrement, priced like a recreational vehicle, or some combo thereof. These new Rugers are a really solid example of an affordable 1911 that just works. Now, the 10mm version is priced a little bit higher at an MSRP of $10.19, but I personally don't mind paying a little bit more for that extra millimeter of goodness. And you may be at work on the crapper or at home on the couch saying, John, why do you care so much about 10mm? The answer is simple. Short of Magnum revolver cartridges, there is nothing in a semi-auto, which is relatively affordable and available ammo, that has as much stank on it as the 10mm.
Where would Tina Turner be right now if she'd rolled over and said, "Hit me again, Ike," and put some stank on it?
And because we can't seem to go a week without some suppressor-based news, the good folks at Dead Air Silencers have just announced another 30 caliber suppressor called the Sandman K. The K version adds to their already solid lineup by being tiny. By the way, if you're ever wondering why K is the designation for short cans, I believe it comes from the word Kurz in German, which means short. For instance, 9mm Kurz is actually our 380 auto. The K, unfortunately, does not stand for more killy. The more you know. Anyway, the Sandman K features pretty much all of the same rock-solid stuff as the full-size versions. Stellite baffles, replaceable end caps, and the dead air QD mount. Here's the thing that matters, though. This thing only adds 2.9 inches to the length of your gun. That is tiny. I'd compare it to the Surefire SOCOM Mini, but that's not really even fair. This thing is only 0.4 inches longer than that can. It's rated up to 300 Win Mag, where that's only a 5.56, and according to Dead Air, there are no barrel length restrictions. Methinks this might have to go on that Project Atrocious with its 4-inch 5.56 barrel. What do you guys think? Now, there's one obvious downside to a can like this. It's not the quietest can around. It's not really meant to be that. There simply isn't as much volume as other larger cans, but that's not really why this thing exists. It's meant to be tiny and lightweight. Sound suppression is kind of an added bonus, right? But get back on the roller coaster because we're bringing you back around. From now until the Hearing Protection Act actually moves out of committee, each Sandman K will have a special HPA prefix in the serial number. These guys got jokes. In the message I got from them, they were kind of referring to passing your cans down, and they said, your heirs will know that you didn't wait for the HPA. Now, here's the real reason why I couldn't compare it to the Surefire Mini, which has an MSRP of $12.99. The Sandman K is listed at an MSRP of $9.50, but much like the serial numbers, until the HPA moves out of committee, it's going to be sold at $699. That is a smoking deal on an ultra-robust can. I mean, that's in pistol can territory. How many of you out there would snag something like this over a full-size can? Let me know down in the comments.
The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
The phrase good guy with a gun kind of gets redefined every week here on the show. We've talked about people from all walks of life saving others or themselves with the responsible use of a firearm. This week is another redefining moment. Last week in Putnam County, Georgia, during a routine transport, 2 inmates killed 2 corrections officers and then they hit the trail. At this point, they were considered armed and dangerous and a manhunt ensued. 3 days later, they had made their way to Shelbyville, Tennessee. After a series of nonsense like robbing an older couple and tying them up, Donnie and Ricky ended up in a car chase with the police that ended in a wreck, and the 2 men took off once again. Until they ran into the backyard of a nearby good guy who noticed the 2 degenerates in his driveway and decided to hold them at gunpoint until police arrived. Now, I know most of you out there would say something like the guy should have shot them both on sight, and hey, maybe that is the case. Maybe he should have done that. But we don't have all the details. It's impossible to say, like always. What we do know is that a gun stopped these 2 killers from hurting anyone else.
Circle 10 AK offers some of the best thought out products for your AK platform rifles and pistols. Be sure to check out things like their side folding stocks, muzzle brakes, and all kinds of other accessories. To see all the products they sell, check out circle10ak.com.
This week, our Guntuber is trying to fill a little bit of the void left by TN Outdoors 9 not doing ammo tests anymore. Let's take a quick look at Kentucky Ballistics. Now, Scott isn't out to get super scientific, but he does show off some really interesting cartridges and the kind of terminal ballistics you might expect from them. I'm a total nerd, so even stuff as simple as seeing like a 500 compared to a 460, it's really fun for me, and that's kind of what that channel is all about. There is a link down in the description if you guys want to head over to that channel and get subscribed. Guys, keep those Guntuber suggestions coming. If you know of a channel that needs to be featured in this segment, post it in the comments or send me a link via theguncollective.com. And unfortunately, that is it for this week's show. Guys, you know what to do. You get subscribed, you like the video, you share it with your friends, and of course, as always, thank you all for watching. We'll see you guys soon. The shirts worn in today's episode of TGC News were provided by Patriot Patch Company. Click the link in the description to learn more.